The ringing of a chime helps in many ways. Good morning and welcome to our Sunday service. I am Nancy Nelson and I will be your celebrant this morning. I lead the shared worship team, which helps create services when our Reverend Elizabeth is not with us. And I have the pleasure today of introducing you to our guest speaker, Tracy Simmons. She is an award-winning journalist who specializes in religion reporting and media entrepreneurship. Tracy lives a life of the interfaith, the world of religion where different faiths and non-faith come together and learn from one another. You may have read her work already, even if you don't realize it. It's in the Spokesman-Review and the Daily News. And you may also come across it from a news service called FāVS News, which describes itself as a place for readers seeking clarity on matters of faith, values, and ethics. Her experience has shown her something that we are sometimes told doesn't exist: common ground for people of radically different belief. I wonder, where can that ground be found? What do we have to learn when we find our way to it? How do we get there? I'm very glad you are here today to learn from Tracy's experiences. I'd especially like to welcome people who are joining us for the first time. We are very glad that you are here. If you are here in person, I hope you have received a welcome packet with information in it and an information card. If you don't have one yet, please ask after the service. If you fill that out and drop it in the offering basket or drop it off at the office, we will be in touch to support you in finding your way into our community. If you're joining us online, there's a link to the same form, an electronic version. Our welcoming committee members have yellow name tags and can answer questions, as well as many of us in the congregation. So whether you are new or not, please consider staying for coffee and conversation after the service, either downstairs in our fellowship hall or in our Zoom room online. There is also an option for a quieter conversation in Reverend Elizabeth's office, which is down the hall on the left. There, a member of our worship team will host a smaller gathering. We want everyone to feel welcome. One of our rituals in our service is our words of welcome. This welcome, like the words on the banners around this room, names some of the things that are most important to us. So let's say our words of welcome together. Whether this is your first or your 1000th Sunday with us, and whether you strolled, rolled, zoomed, ran, or danced in, we are glad you chose to join us. We are one people of many beliefs, identities, origins, sexualities, and genders. All are welcome here. Now we will take a moment to say hello across the technical divide. First, we're going to show the people joining us on Zoom. If you are at home, please turn on your camera, and people at home, wave. Now, people here in person, it's your turn to wave. Thank you. We have some announcements we need to share today. The first one is regarding coffee, which I know is an important thing, but so is not wasting things. So for the last 6 months, we've been making extra coffee and sometimes throwing away quite a bit. So we're going to try, beginning today, having just the regular 50 cups. And if it runs out, there's going to be instant or coffee bags as an option to be brewed. We're trying to meet everybody's needs and not waste anything. I hope you'll understand. There is a transgender inclusion workshop getting ready to start at the church, and there's a sign up for it downstairs and upstairs. What can we learn to help ourselves be more welcoming and to learn more about people that we haven't met yet? And by signing up, you do have a bit of homework to do, and that's to help the class be the best it can be. So look around downstairs, and this is one too. It has the dates. It's every Saturday in April. Eating dinner together is basically what it will be. And Debbie and Tabitha have an announcement.
Good morning. We're here representing your Committee on Ministry, As many of you probably know, this congregation has been working on a new draft of our covenant for quite a while now, and so many of you have been involved in collaborating on that. And we are really excited that we're finally to the point where the board has called a meeting to invite us all to vote on that covenant. So that is going to be next Sunday, right here in the fellowship,
The sanctuary.
in the sanctuary, immediately after the service. So we invite you all to come to that, be ready to vote, and Debbie?
Yes, and so just to get prepared, there are some copies of the covenant downstairs in the fellowship hall, and so you can look at it there and share it. Well, there are lots of them. There are 25. And there's also, it has been posted on the UUCP Facebook page, so you can look at it there. And you should be getting an email this week that has a link to it. And then next week, we plan to read it out loud to you before we vote. So anyway, yes. So please join us for that.
Thank you.
And Margaret has an announcement. Oh, Kat, did you have? Oh, I did miss that. Yes. There will be a chance to sign up to help with coffee hour after. Thank you, Kat. Margaret?
So next week is the vernal equinox, and after a hiatus of a few years, we are going to celebrate that next Saturday, March 21st, out at Cordelia Church at 9 o'clock. If you don't know Cordelia Church, you should really go out there. It's a lovely spot. If you don't know what the vernal equinox is, come out and you can find out too. And there will be coffee. David, do you have a question? AM, 9 a.m., yes. Thank you, it's good to know these things. Anyway, I hope to see you all there.
Here end the announcements. The land on which our church is built is part of the ancestral homeland of the Nimipu, the people, and mistakenly called the Nez Perce by the French traders. We acknowledge the land is held in sacred kinship since time immemorial. The land and its people shared immeasurable harm brought by Euro-American society. We are working with its resilient peoples to show respect and contribute to the healing and nurturing of this Hatetwitis, precious land, and all its peoples. I forgot to line up a chalice lighter. Matt, can you light the chalice for us? We light a chalice, even when we forget to line it up. We light a chalice as we begin our service, a flame that sanctifies our time together and recalls those who have worked for justice before us. We are hoping that people joining us via Zoom or Zoom at home have a chalice or candle to light. Let's speak the words of lighting our chalices together. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to speak and seek to share.
Our opening words are Maya Angelou's poem, Still I Rise. You may write me down in history with bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines diggin' in my backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide. Welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise.
Let's sing together. Love Will Guide Us is our opening hymn. We pass collection baskets. It's a chance for us to be generous individually and also as a church community, because we typically give away all that we collect. This Sunday, our Sunday offering is going to a charity that aligns with our values. It's simply giving our money to local food banks. For those of you able to make a financial contribution, the logistics are on your screen. Let's take this time now to be generous together. Members of the lay pastoral ministry team lead us in sharing our joys and sorrows most Sundays. You can contact any member of the team if you'd like to visit with them. Their names and contact information are on the church website. They also invite you to a brief holding circle following the service at the front by the heart sculpture, a time to simply be together with people in brief silence. Lay pastoral minister Elizabeth Berlinger will lead us in joys and sorrows today. I want you to settle further into this stillness. Feel the particular life you carry, your name, your memories, the stories you have been told about who you are. Now, for a few moments, let those stories grow lighter in your hands, not to abandon your own story, but to hold it alongside another. Imagine setting those stories down gently beside you and stepping just for a moment into another life. A life shaped by different traditions, different prayers, different fears about the world, different hopes for what is sacred, not to abandon your own story, but to hold it alongside another. Imagine waking in that life, seeing the world through those eyes. What would feel beautiful? What would feel frightening? What would feel holy? Our next reading today is Human Family by Maya Angelou. I note the obvious differences in the human family. Some of us are serious, some thrive on comedy. Some declare their lives are lived as a true profundity, and others claim they really live the real reality. The variety of our skin tones can confuse, bemuse, delight, brown and pink and beige and purple, tan and blue and white. I've sailed upon the 7 seas and stopped in every land. I've seen the wonders of the world, not yet one common man. I know 10,000 women called Jane and Mary Jane, but I've not seen 2 who really were the same. Mirror twins are different, though their features jibe, and lovers think quite different thoughts while lying side by side. We love and lose in China. We weep on England's moors, and laugh and moan in Guinea, and thrive on Spanish shores. We seek success in Finland and are born and die in Maine. In minor ways we differ, in major ways we're the same. I note the obvious differences between each sort and type, but we are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. We are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. We are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. And from the book of Micah, chapter 6, verse 8. He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me today. It's really my honor. This is Stanley's first church service, and he's heard this homily about 3 times. Anyways, I knew that I wanted to be a journalist when I was just 15. I was already writing for my local newspaper in Albuquerque, covering whatever general assignment my editor threw at me. When I became the first person in my college to go to college, or first person in my family to go to college, it was no one's surprise that I pursued a journalism degree. But something unexpected did happen in college. Whenever a faith story crossed my path, the new pastor in town, a religious holiday, a social justice issue tied to a congregation, I leaned in a little bit harder than my classmates. 2 professors noticed this before I did. They pulled me aside and they said, "This is your beat. Religion is your beat." That nudge sent me toward a religious studies minor and eventually toward a religion reporting career that I've now spent more than 20 years building. What they didn't know, and what I didn't know fully at the time, was why faith stories pulled at me the way they did. I was raised in a cult, one that used belief as a wall between us and everyone else, and taught me that the world outside was dangerous and that questions were a kind of betrayal. We had weekly home groups that lasted for hours, singing prayers, speaking in tongues, the occasional casting out of demons. Weekly, we had one-on-one meetings with a pastor who was assigned to our family by the apostle, and the apostle was the man who led our community and whose word was final. Everything was watched, everything was accounted for, and the message, delivered in 100 different ways, was always the same. The world outside these walls will destroy you. After I graduated college and landed my first newspaper gig in Texas, they tried to get me to hand over my paychecks. The idea was that my stepfather would manage my money and then give me an allowance, because without a husband, I couldn't be trusted to govern myself. I refused, but that wasn't ultimately what broke things open. What broke things open was them finding out that I was gay. I had to move out of state from New Mexico to Texas just to feel strong enough to begin pulling away. The distance helped, but the formal end came by mail years later when I moved to Washington. My mother sent a letter and 2 UPS boxes containing everything from my childhood: my own baby photos, a stamp collection, my Matchbox cars. Because, she wrote, I continued to disobey God's law. And because of that, she and my stepfather could no longer be in touch with me. They were taught by the apostle that homosexuals are equivalent to murderers. And so they sent my childhood back to me in boxes, and they said goodbye. They have never read a single one of my news articles. They believe I am putting myself in spiritual danger every time I walk into a house of worship. They believe I am spreading lies by reporting on religion at all. Clearly, I'm standing in a house of worship right now. I have been walking into houses of worship for 2 decades, and every single time that I do, I find something that looks nothing like what I was taught to fear. Freeing myself from the cult grip wasn't a single moment of refusal. It took years, and it was journalism, the slow accumulation of conversations with people whose faith looked nothing like what I had been taught, that gradually opened a door I didn't even know was closed. And then it kept pulling me forward into mosques and temples and cathedrals and storefronts, into conversations I would have never been allowed to have growing up. But what keeps me in this work is what I keep witnessing: people of radically different beliefs finding common ground in their commitment to love and justice. These days, I would describe my own faith as somewhere between Buddhism and mainline Christianity. I've taken the Buddhist precepts. But I also find deep meaning in the Christian tradition of radical love and service. What draws me to both is the same thing that drew me to religion reporting: the belief that there is something worth understanding in every tradition, and that if I pay close enough attention, I might learn something I can carry into my own life. That curiosity is what I bring to my work as editor of FāVS News, which this church supports, and I'm so grateful. We're a nonprofit newsroom that covers faith, values, and ethics in Washington and into North Idaho, including right here in this community. We cover Buddhist temples and Baptist churches, Muslim communities and Jewish congregations, Sikhs and atheists, and everyone in between. And in more than a decade since I founded FāVS, which have been some polarizing years in this country, I've learned something that I want to share with you today. So let me tell you what I've been witnessing. In January, on a cold evening in downtown Spokane, about 200 people gathered at the Rotary Fountain in Riverfront Park. They carried flowers and candles. They walked 10 blocks through downtown and back. Some were Buddhist, some were Christian. One man was a Rosicrucian, and he came with his dog. There were Tibetan nuns from Sarvasti Abbey. There were people who probably didn't know exactly what they believed, only that they believed in this. They were honoring the group of 20 Buddhist monks, who you probably heard about, who had just completed a 2,300-mile peace walk from Fort Worth, Texas, to the Washington National Cathedral. 108 days, sunrise to sundown, walking, as one of them put it, to find peace for ourselves, to share that in our nation and the world. Communities along the way lined the streets with food and small gifts for them. Some walked alongside them for a bit. When the monks reached DC, they were greeted by thousands of people and faith leaders from traditions across the spectrum. Venerable Geshe Thupten Pelgey, who founded the Universal Compassion Foundation in Spokane, flew to the East Coast just to walk with the monks for one day, an entire day. He came home with blisters on his feet. Peace begins from ourselves, he told my reporter. We have to share peace, love, compassion, and practice humility, compassion, and forgiveness. At the Spokane celebration, a Tibetan Buddhist nun named Thupten Cheni spoke about what the monk's journey had reminded her of. She said the capacity for love isn't something we have to manufacture or earn. It's embedded in our very psyche as we enter this world, she said. What they've given us is a reminder of who we are. I've been a religion reporter for a long time. I've seen a lot. And when I read my reporter's account of that night, 200 people walking through downtown Spokane in the January cold, carrying light, I felt it too, a reminder of who we are. Around that same time, just down the road at Gonzaga, a theologian named Tracy Simmons stood before an audience and asked a question that has stayed with me. Meyer, a Catholic scholar from LA, was examining why some of the most prominent Catholics in American public life were using degrading language about immigrants, despite the church's official teaching on human dignity. She wasn't talking about policy. She was talking about moral imagination, about the story we tell ourselves about strangers. Her own family knew that story intimately. Her grandparents met while interned at the Heart Mountain Relocation Center during World War II, locked away by their own government because they were, quote, not seen like us. That experience shaped how Meyer thinks about strangers, about borders, about who we decide deserves dignity and who we decide does not. Meyer said she holds on to hope because, she said, we can engage with faith in a way that embraces difference, and we don't have to be afraid of it. They don't have to look like us. They don't have to pray like us to be treated with respect. That line stayed with me because I think it's the whole thing. The whole idea of interfaith community distilled into 2 sentences. One more story you're familiar with, sadly. In January, an ICE officer fatally shot Renee Good in Minneapolis. The following day in Portland, Border Patrol agents shot a man and woman during a traffic stop. Within days, faith leaders across the Pacific Northwest, Episcopal bishops, United Methodist leaders, interfaith organizations, had released statements, not partisan statements, but statements grounded in their deepest convictions about human dignity. The Episcopal Bishop of Olympia, Philip LaBelle, wrote, "The way of Jesus is the way of nonviolence. That does not mean that we do not stand up when we encounter injustice in the world, because we should." The United Methodist Bishop of the Greater Northwest area quoted Isaiah and urged his community to pray for Portland, for Minneapolis, for Washington, D.C., for Gaza, for all of God's children, and then to act. And then Becca, Renee Good's wife, in the middle of her grief, said her partner knew, quote, that all religions teach the same essential truth. We are here to love each other, care for each other, and keep each other safe and whole. And this is what I keep witnessing. Not agreement, not uniformity, not the erasure of real and important differences between traditions, but something harder and more beautiful than that. People who believe different things, sometimes very different things, choosing to stand together anyway. Because the call to care for one another turns out to transcend every boundary we've built. Now, I know that's not the whole picture. We are also living through a moment when leaders, both political and religious, are doing the opposite. They're using faith to divide, to exclude, to justify cruelty toward the vulnerable. We don't have to look far from where we're sitting right now. Right here in Moscow, a certain pastor in a certain church have built a national platform on a theology that excludes, demeans, and divides, that treats certain people as less deserving of dignity than others. And in DC, faith is being invoked to justify policies that separate families, dehumanize immigrants, and reward the powerful at the expense of the vulnerable. I see that too. I report on that too, but I refuse to let it be the only story. Because here is what I know from my many years of bearing witness. The people doing that work, the ones using faith as a weapon, they're loud, but they are not the whole of American religious life, not even close. I grew up being taught that there was one right way to believe, and that everyone outside that way was lost or dangerous or both. I know what it feels like to be on the receiving end of that theology. And I know how seductive it is, how much easier it is to build walls than to sit with complexity, to exclude rather than to welcome, to demand certainty rather than to stay curious. Religion journalism didn't just give me a career, it gave me a different way of seeing, one that has room for Buddhist monks and Episcopal bishops, and a wife who wanted the world to know her partner believed in love. That seeing saved me, and I believe it can help save us, not from our differences, but from the fear of them. You are here because you are people who show up. This tradition was built on the belief that worship and conscience are not separate things, that what you profess on Sunday must be lived out in the world the rest of the week. And right now, in this moment, choosing to show up, to keep believing that a more humane and loving world is possible is not a small thing. In fact, I'd say it's an act of resistance. The question of what love requires is not abstract. Faith communities are answering it every day in peace walks and public witness and prayers of lament and nonviolent civil disobedience trainings and meals shared across lines of difference. I came to this work broken open by my own experience of faith gone wrong. And what has put me back together, piece by piece, is being in the room with people who refuse to let fear win. The monks with their blisters, the bishops with their statements, the wife who wanted the world to know her partner believed in love. That is the story I keep showing up to tell. And I hope it's also the story you keep showing up to live. Thank you.
Let's sing together. There is more love somewhere. Be seated for our closing reading. We're going to do it together. My part is labeled leader. Your part will be labeled people. This is based on the writing of Václav Havel. Hope is not the certainty that everything will turn out well. Even when the outcome is uncertain. Even when the work is long. Even when the voices of fear are loud. Still we choose to act. Still we choose to care. Still we choose to show up. Let's sing together our closing benediction, There is a Love. Let's say the words together as we embody this flame. We extinguish this chalice, that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light our paths as we leave this place. May it guide our way until we are together again.
Go from this place as witnesses. Bear witness to the good that is already happening around you. in your neighborhoods, in your communities, across lines of difference, and then be a part of it. May you find the courage to take all the steps you're being called to take. Go in peace and go in love.